Namaste. Welcome to Self Shiatsu Flow. Act like you know. All right. Just straighten out the legs right away. And stretch the way you like to do that. I didn't prepare anybody with props, so I have tennis and golf ball and towel, but you probably don't have those things, so I'm not going to focus on them, although if that comes up, I can mention that, and you're pre-recorded later. You can refer back to it if you want to practice these techniques again, if we get to that. Awesome. Then we're going to make a big diamond and bring our feet together, and hopefully you can see me and hear me very well. Got a lot of spotlights on me. You're going to reach through the inner calf and grab the outer foot. I'm going to reach through from the inner calf and grab the outer feet with my hands, and I'm going to walk my pelvis side to side, bringing my sit bones back, trying to get my elbows to the floor so I can press my shoulder blades back when we inhale, and pull on the feet to bring our chest bone forward, shoulder blades back, exhale, head down. Extra breath. Before you let go, stay right there. Or for those who want to go a little stronger, hold your feet while you try to scoot your seat back by moving your pelvis side to side in the attempt to straighten your legs a little while still holding your feet, to pull your shoulders wide and stretch the backs and inner parts of the legs and the lumbar. And let go of your feet. With your hands back, sit up, gently cross your ankles and kneel up for Seisasana. Seisas, kneeling pose that takes us to our first Shiatsu technique. Please unmute yourself and speak up if I'm too far away. That's my main concern. But for now, I'm going to ask you to cross your feet, and perhaps I'll scoot up a little to show you the movements of the hands and feet. But most of us know that I'm going to kick towards the heel, the metatarsal one, the big toe bone up to the instep of the ankle. We'll kick to the high inner arch, close to the heel. That regenerates our spinal energy, specifically the adrenals. And we're going to shift our weight side to side and allow that instep bone to find that strong pressure point. It's almost the center of the sole of our feet. And it's the high arch tendon and micro muscle that we're trying to cross fiber massage. If it feels strong, you know you're on it, and you hit that point, you work it. From there, before we do the other side, the foot that's pinned down, the feeling side that's getting the massage, you could lean back on your hands and lift that knee up to stretch your ankle a little and, get a good one, good stretch, right? Then I'm going to come up onto my hands and knees and cross the opposite feet to feel the other side. And I'm going to, again, kick towards the heel and find the high inner arch. And repeat. One side will feel stronger or less strong. That gives you the reference. The strong feeling side is the balancing body side. Once you find that strong Subo in Japanese, or Shiatsu point, pressure point, acupressure point, you may even like to lift that knee, lift that shin, that thigh, to stretch that ankle. And release that. And then from after, so the focal technical point here is to stretch and then massage, or sometimes massage and then stretch. In this case, we're massaging first and sustain and optimize the release of that pressure point that we just felt. Hopefully, we do go into Kiza, which is an ancient term, a lost language term almost, that means flex the toes. Now we're flex, more active, dynamic, like a monk meditative position. It's like the first Virabhadra in a way, because you take stance. So you flex your toes, your feet are close together, your knees are wide. And pardon me, but you can pull your seat meat back, pull your bottom muscles back with your fingers to try to allow your sit bones to touch your heel bone. Then you'll spread your fingers strong. I'm going to end up on this sisal. half the class. Spread your fingers strong and make a subtle grip that makes the back of your hand strong to press your middle inner thigh, so that when you squeeze your inner thighs together, you can feel your heel bones and sit bones get closer together. That's Mula Bandha, the root lock or the pelvic floor that activates the abdominal core and beyond through the rib cage into the pectoral girdle or press power. But for now, we're squeezing in, we're stretching the toes basically and increasing the deep stretch to completely release the tension from those pressure points. Then we'll separate our feet wide and go into a squat, trying to get the knees over the ankles. If I'm going too fast, just raise your hand and I'll slow down. Doing a great job. If the heels don't reach the floor, some of us had discussed previously, you're just keeping your hands forward, hugging your elbows in, dropping your shoulder blades down, so that when you push back, you get super long shoulder joints and super wide shoulder blades. Repeat information. Before you put your heels towards the floor, when you're kneeling forward, when your shoulders are loose and not extended, that would be the time right now to 1, 2, 3 press power, which is hug the elbows in so the shoulders rotate out, the arms hug in, which turns on the ribs. Then number 2, the shoulder blades go down into the rib cage. And number 3, we do press back. We get long shoulder blades wrapping the ribs, and that super deep squat. If you need to roll up a mat or a towel under your heels, that's fine. If it's difficult to get your heels down, you probably want to keep your hands there, just work into the heels. And if it's easy to sink into your heels, you can also take a prayer squat, a malasana press. And as usual, I'm going to press the thigh away as I base the floor and just lean away from that. Check my neck as I drop my shoulder back. And wait there, if that's deep enough. Or some people draw the bow like an archer's pose, pressing the upper arms like half a crow. Yeah, and some people clasp the fingers around the shin behind the back to internalize and stretch the shoulder joint. Eventually, you're going to release that and try the other side, pressing the thigh away, opposite hand faces the floor, and try to drop your shoulder back and release your neck and upper back. You want to take your upper arm and base that shin, working up the crow, which is a pressure point, and then we'll reach back with the thumbs up like drawing a bow. And possibly clasp around the shin to go deep internal shoulder joint and check the alignment of the joint itself. And release that down, hands down, elbows towards the floor. Why? Because we want to press the glute by the piece. We want to press the upper arms into the shin so the hands come down. The heels come up, the hips come up, and we lean the shins on the forearms, and we try to feel that pressure point in the upper outer shin, right outside of the tibia, right outside of the large lower leg bone. We lean on that. That's the digestion point. So we're releasing blockages by leaning on the arms, squeezing the feet together, pressing into the shin, balancing on your toes for lifting off the ground. And then stand down, walk down to back to down, or jump back to downward dog. Now we're walking the dog. I often try to give a profile or a diagonal so it's easier to see on screen what I'm doing. Hopefully I stay on screen. I set that up pretty well. Let me just double check. Yeah, good. So walking the dog. I'm going to get one heel down. Right. I'm starting with my left heel down because part of the Shiatsu is also digestion, that's why we twist to the right side first, because that's the first part of digestion. So the reason why I put my left heel down first and lift my right leg up, because eventually I'll come into a lunge and twist to the right first. Good job. And then I'm going to kick back, turn the pelvis forward, and lunge forward into a long grounded lunge on the floor. I stay down with the hands on the ground. I lunge in as deep as I can. And then I'm going to reach back and just take a long, lunging, kneeling archer's pose. So reach back and twist. Twisting towards the front leg. Yeah, good. I'm gonna get right into it today. And then we're gonna stand up. I'm gonna stand up. You can kneel down. I'm just kind of like a rotating triangle or rotating lunge. Good. Then I'm going to, if that makes any sense to you, I'm gonna roll over my back toes to take a short form stance. Not a long lunging stance, but I'll roll over onto my toenails on the fronts of my instep foot and kneel down so my hip is over my knee and my toes relaxed. I'm facing my chin like a fin, like a tail fin. And then I'm going to reach back and twist further. So if we're facing the same direction, the back leg arm goes up and the front leg arm goes down. I'm looking back towards the lunging leg as the profile. Good job. Now, if you want to catch your elbow and pull it back, pressing your head into your shin, I beg your pardon, pressing your head into your forearm, lunging and looking back. So as you pull back, you lunge forward. Try to keep your weight centered. Good. Stretching the left side body. And pretty soon we're going to crunch into the right side body. We're going to drop right into that lunging prayer twist. This is short form stance, so clearly you're not in a lunge. You're in a kneeling short form, very bandha based, because the short stance allows more feeling between the sit bones and the inner legs, right? Then, if you want to go long, you just flex your toes and kick your heel back. Whether you remain standing or kneel back down is on you, as you like, but the long stance is there. It's okay to kneel back down. I'm going to do it when I draw the bow. Not reaching to the sky, reaching to the back wall behind me. So I'm reaching back. So my shoulder blade moves into towards my spine or rib cage of the upper reaching back arm. That's the bow staff holding arm. The arm that's pressing the thigh, that's pulling the string with the two forefingers. The arm that's reaching back, thumbs up, is the thumb basing the bow staff, right? Exactly like the real technique. Yeah. And then for those who want to go deep, you reach for the floor, stand up, and reach for the sky. And that semi-lunging, straight bent or straight front leg, arm lock. And you're enjoying that. Beautiful. This is the flow part. You're warming up. And there's pressure points going on the upper outer arm. And again, the upper outer front shin. Same pressure point as pro, but in a different way, helping digestion, the primary flow system. Sorry if I'm talking too fast. Let me slow down a little bit. Now I'm going to step the back knee to the outer front heel, like I'm going to take Ardha Matsundra. I won't use Sanskrit today. I'm going to kneel the back knee outside of the front heel, like I'm riding on the neck of an animal that can hold my weight, like a yak, whatever. And I'll draw the bow again in this dynamic kneeling twist. That makes any sense. Good job. Yes, a lot going on. Front side rib pressure, help releasing the back. So the acupressure points on the front ribs from your thigh will clearly release the ribs in the back if you feel that down your spine. Then I'm going to reach for the floor and be all chill and sit on the ground and twist. Or some people like some people like arm balance, Vinyasa, but you don't have to do that. You can just sit down. We're going to all sit down in a moment. But for those who want to go hard, you can sit your hip on your elbow. There's another pressure point. You want the elbow to press into that hip flexor. Whatever muscle you can hit on the side of that pelvis, that's your hip. If you can sit your hip on that elbow. If you can't, that's not happening, just chill, sit down. We'll be right there. Sure. That's a deep elbow press into that side hip flexor. And wonderful stuff. And then everybody's going to sit down and chill out like we normally would if we're being restorative and just want to release the lower back. In 2 stages. Stop me if I'm going too fast. I'm going to push the earth and lift this pelvis for a moment and then sit back down just to get my sit bones back a little bit, to tilt my pelvis so my heart bone goes high, so I stand tall, sit tall. And I'm just going to cross the opposite arm to leg because we're going to twist. The opposite arm to the inner elbow will hook the outer shin below the knee. I know you can go deeper, but we're doing steps. Please bear with me. Hook the shin and get that the tendons on your upper and lower inner elbow where it gets tight. The muscles are on the inside. Hook that shin below your knee. Then cup your hands or whatever you like to do, and take a breath and pull your chest bone up. Maybe even your bound leg sit bone might rise up a little bit. But kick your front heel and try to put your sit bone back down as you pull your heart bone up. And just chilling, finding your sit bone base, breathing, and tuning into the breath and the bandha. So you might feel a little tiny feeling between your sit bones that will activate a little feeling behind your navel. That's where we're going with that breath, to activate the bandha. Good job. Then if you want to go a little deeper before we release, the backhand that's available for you will just reach for the ground. And they will push you as you reach. The hooking arm will let go, and you will just reach up as you push down. Reach for the star. Reach for your lucky star. Right, touch the fingertips of your guardian angel. Oh, stardust, universe juice. And then just hook your upper forearm. That makes any sense. Your upper arm behind your head. Push your head back just a little more. And then hook your upper arm outside your thigh if that works for you. You got to that level. And you grab whichever foot you want to grab or whatever. And breathe and release the muscles past the bone, the organ, stretching the nerves and the tendons and the fascia, the energy, stretching energy, moving energy through the breath. When we get where you want to go, we're going to come out of there. You suck. And then I'm done with that personally, so I'm going to get out. I'm going to untwist. Now, real quick, while you're still there, as you untwist with me, if you happen to want to counter pose, it's like a Mayura, I forget what it's called, Matsindra. I forget that all the yoga names. I wasn't going to use them today. But I'm going to hook a forward bend. I'm going to hook my upper arm around my shin like a crow. And just counter pose down, forehead towards the foot or floor. So nice. Very good. Yes, you could pop up into a flying crow and all that. But I'm not going to do that today, but you can if you want. I'm just going to go into a swan, what some people call a pigeon. So the forward folded seated leg is going to go out, so the knees lined up forward with the hip at least. The thighs forward, the lower front bent leg. The upper crossing leg, I'm going to step behind me and flex my toes and try to push my heel back. What I call a swan, what traditionally is a top fret, pigeon fret. And you can't see, I'm not going to show you right now, but you can just understand my back toes are flexed. I'm kicking my heel back, try to activate my tailbone and my lumbar. Sorry. Let's sit to the outer thigh, exit the pose. Just sit on the outer thigh. Massage that outer thigh band and hit whatever you feel. There's pressure points on the outer thigh, which will help recirculate the leg for a moment. If you're feeling like, my sacrum's feeling that, I need to release more, you can drop to your forearm intuitively, wherever you already are. You can just drop your forearm, just get a little more like exiting the pose, stretch it out. In any case, we're going to come back forward into the pose on the hand. And you have two choices here. If it's a bit strong in your lower back or your hip, you can immediately drop to your forearms and chill out. If you can take your finger stance or palm stance super wide with the elbows kind of over the wrists, your hands would kind of come off the mat, really, to be fair, and you'd roll. Back toes are still flexed if at all possible. Stay active on the tailbone. Stretch the lumbar and all the way up and down the spine as you inhale up and exhale down. Inhale, roll up. Exhale, extend down. Inhale, roll up. Exhale, extend down. Good job. I'm going to push back and walk my toes back a little bit if I feel like I can go a little deeper as I start to release. And then we'll drop the forearms and begin to move the pelvis side to side. If your front heel is moving at anywhere above your front pelvis, above your front hip, that would be moving towards the psoas, or the base of the psoas, really active. So don't worry about that. Then from now, if that's not happening, if you feel it, that's good. And then from now, we're going to do our crossed forearm, which means that the front leg is complemented by the opposite forearm because we're making a twist. You can do that. The front shin and opposite forearm have made a twist now. Good. And then your hand can roll your thigh out. You can use your palm to hit that pressure point of the hip flexor and rotate the hip out, which decompresses the knee or unrotates the knee slightly. Yeah, and deepens the seat in the outer thigh band. And then I'm going to press my sacrum behind me, press to the forward forearm, inhale, exhale, twist back. My basic flow, I'm just pointing out the Shiatsu points that I'm about to increase upon. Then I'm going to catch the back foot and pull it in towards my hip. Small details for those who tune into such points. I'm pulling the heel towards the same side hip. I'm not twisting the knee. The heels go right towards the same side hip with a straight pull. And I'm twisting my core. That's a lot of time in that pose. So I'm going to roll to the outer thigh, release the whole situation. And you can bend both knees. You can see the back leg. You can be totally chilled out and bend both knees. And then the hand that's bracing and basing will allow you to push your hips up. And just decompress a little bit. Feel the core in your waist. You just stretched, working, releasing, and sit back down. Now, the little challenge part here to do the exit is to walk the back foot back, flex the back toes, push up onto the hands so we can kick the front leg back and counter pose from piriformis to psoas, from deep seat to deep abdominal core. So we're going to take it back 180 behind them, take it back. I'm on my forearm and shin. That's true. I'm chilling, the baby Scorpio. But eventually, I can stand up and be on one forearm or straighten those arms, whatever you feel. And I'm going to go ahead and keep going and drop back into a squat, hold my head, and just go really open on that core, open on that thigh, stretching the core, strengthening the back, stretching the shoulder. And then come on out of there. That felt yummy. Completely counter pose. And hold downward dog. And trust it. You're in downward dog. You don't have to look up. We're doing downward dog. You can chill and breathe and feel what's going on. You start to walk your dog. And we're going to get the right heel down. If you remember the flow, we're going to go for left lunge twist. But first, we're going to just get the right heel down and chill out. Just stretch out that leg. Eventually, you can lift your left leg in a downward Scorpio. Adho Vrishika. And then we're going to kick back and lunge forward with the left leg and take a grounded lunge. So my hands stay on the floor. I get whatever long lunge I can get. I'll face to you and just hold the ground. Good job. I'm just chilling. Now, if you remember, I'm going to stand up on the back foot. You can take a pyramid, what some people call a pyramid pose, stretch out a little more. I did not do on the first side, but I didn't say anything, but a little stretch. But then I'm gonna roll over the back toes with short form stance. Every pose has a long and short form, just like Kung Fu. You just don't identify it. But we roll over the toes, now we're in a short form, we're in a forward form. Shorter stance is always a stronger form. Good job. So after rolling over the toe, yeah, the hip is over the knee. I'm very centered and I can feel more between my legs because, you know, that's what you get. And then, yes, if we're lunging in the same direction, the back leg arm comes up, the front leg arm comes down. We look back towards the front lunging leg side. And as we reach and pull the elbow back, pressing the head into the arm, into profile, lunging, pulling back and lunging. So there's the primary body is really centered. And the focus of the stretch, many points, but first we're stretching the side body, the back leg. We prep for the lunge twist. Juicy. Crunching the left lunging side a little bit of core, getting in, getting ready to twist. And so you take the twist. You stop. You take your breath. Doing good. Small details. The upper arm is pressing into the lower outer thigh above the knee, but the thigh also pushes back into the arm. So the arm and leg are both pushing 50-50. Nobody collapses and compresses the hip or strains the outer knee ligament, right? The knee is right between the hip and the ankle. The knee follows the toe on the lunge. The leg pushes out as much as the arm pushes in. And what do you get? Stabilization and alignment and stretch because the thumbs in a wrist move towards the heart ball as you deepen the twist. Then you draw the bow, thumbs up, and reach that left arm back if you're on the left side. And reach for and hold your ground. You can reach for you can stay there and chill, or you can reach for the floor, try to stand up and circle your arm up. If you feel to stand and deliver that kind of power. If you're kneeling, you're good. So as I mentioned on the first side, you kick the back heel back to get the deep lunge alignment. You could also kneel back down in that long, kneeling, grounded lunge. All good. So nice. Then I'm going to kneel, I'm going to stand up and kneel my back knee up outside of my front heel. Like you're in a cross-leg position, like you're sitting in a little chair. But you're kneeling up. You need to hold the floor, that's okay. Just chill out. Do what you can, doing good. Some of you don't have your ankle in camera, so I can't see if you're doing it. But I trust you good. You're fine. Sorry, Betty. Your back toes are relaxed. You're on your shin. That's your base. Good. Stand wherever you're at. Get as deep as you want to go. Then you get good. You know, if you can stay in the pose, don't worry, but we're going to try to sit down to the ground in this pose. But then I'm going to let go with my arm lock and hook the shin with my inner elbow. Remember that? Am I in camera? Yes. And clasping the hands, I'm going to take a breath. Pull my heart bone high. Yes, it compresses the folded hip, the cross leg hip. Yeah. And I'm twisting. And I'm kicking the front heel to ground the sit bone as I lift up. And go as deep as I want to go. And take extra breath. Feel the bones and muscles and organs, the microfibers, releasing into the twist. High heart bone, relaxed sacrum. Then I'm going to push the earth with the hand that's provided behind to reach out. Press my shoulders back, with my heart bone high, Full Shiatsu. Reach for the sky. And hooking the, if you can, upper arm outside the thigh, catching the back heel or the front ankle. We're just continuing to hook your upper shin with your forearm. I just saw a dragonfly in camera in Sweden. I just saw a Swedish dragonfly. That was awesome. And yeah, the inner tendon of the elbow, above and below, for the forearm and the bicep. It's lovely on that shin. But then we've moved on to the upper outer arm, to the lower outer thigh, above the knee. We did that. Working that outer thigh band, above the knee. Really good. Of course, you can work your elbow up and down the thigh. They didn't mention on the first side, beg your pardon. If I straighten my arm a little bit, I can push in better. As I work up and down, that IT band needs so much love. So important to release the lifetime of tension to the outer shield of the thigh that's protected us. To strengthen the inner leg and lengthen the outer thigh. Good job. Okay, then I'm going to release all of that and swing the cross leg back, going to our swan. Flex the back toes, and come forward. And again, I'm pushing the back heel back with flex toes, trying to activate the pelvis and the spine and the lumbar lower back. Dropping the tail, activating the leg, back and inner leg, stretching. Good job. If, like on the first side, you need to roll to the outer thigh and recirculate that leg, you're most welcome. You need to lie on that outer thigh, just kind of chill. And the yin version of that would be, I did not do on the first side. I can't remember everything with my sorry. But you can rest your front rib on your front inner thigh, a yin variation to just also use, as we mentioned on the first side in another pose variation, the front rib pressure will release the lumbar spine via releasing the pressure off of the back rib cage. Upper front rib massage, pressure points, intercostals, translate to the ribs in the back that takes pressure off of the spine as you deepen to your deep seat and your deep hip. You are completely out of the pose onto the outer thigh. If that suits you. Extra breath. Eventually, you're going to come back, forward pelvis, walking the back toes back, pivoting on the front folded leg ankle to see if I can find as deep as I need to go, which means I can feel it in my deep seat without straining my outer knee, that forward leg. Then, with your thumbs forward, hands super wide, which means when the elbow is moved forward over the wrists, that's complemented by the shoulder blades moving back out of the neck. So you've got this space. If you do that properly, what you will feel is your rhomboid beneath your trapezius, your deep back, upper back muscles. When you move elbows forward, shoulders back, then move side to side and try to get that deep rib massage off the spine. The pressure point here, the acupressure here is the actual bones massaging the muscles in this case. But hey, so nice. Extreme option is finger stairs. We don't care. Roll up, back toes flexed if possible, and extend down. Inhale up. Exhale down. If that hurts the lower back, pain is there to teach you to move away from it. So if it's pain, you need to back off and drop to the forearms. You're fine. Good job. And keep doing that until you get satisfied, as long as you need, as slow as you need to go. Eventually, when you feel like it's time to go to the next muscle group, next area, release the lower back, increase the deep hip and deep seat, then you will drop to your forearm and begin to move your pelvis side to side. Very rolling on that full front outer shin. Another series of pressure points. That's wonderful. Again, focusing on digestion. I'll take a quick bio break. Pardon me. I'll see you in 30 seconds. Hold the pose if you like. Okay, super good job. Now, if you're still in the pose and want to return to the pose, if you roll to your outer thigh or whatnot, then from the forearms, you will, if you can, you'll roll your upper thigh out. That's next to the pelvis. Your thumb, your base of thumb, inner wrist is touching your hip, but your palm is on your upper thigh, rolling it out, which clearly will move your sit bone towards the floor, will externally rotate your hip. The pressure point from your palm will hit that hip flexor band really well, and the knee will unrotate, or in other words, decompress the knee, and allow you to roll on that shin and stretch up through the outer thigh band. Wonderful. The lower forearm support is crossing, so your hand could touch your knee. I'm crossing my forearm. It gives me more support, but it's on you. And I try to walk my elbow back under my shoulder while my forearm pressed inside, so that when I inhale and push up, high heart, long spine, and deep shoulder. Then the hand releases. I might even press my backhand into my thigh to release the wrists. But then the palm comes onto the sacrum, and we push down the sacrum as we inhale, lift up on the sternum, and exhale, look back. If that strains the neck, don't look back with your eyes. Look back with your shoulder blades. Move your shoulders down. Beautiful. You can look down and release your neck if you want. Some people catch their foot behind them and pull the heel towards the same side hip. And breathe. Feel the long thigh, long core muscle connection. In addition, as you breathe, you feel the long thigh. Once you get through that long quad feeling, you might start to feel your psoas. Some people have their folded front leg heel right into the psoas above the pelvis. But that is pretty advanced. The front heel is pressing eventually above the front hip pelvis, which would go right into the core muscle that you're stretching. And inhale, exhale, twist. Long rotating form. Then you're done, you're done. You roll to your outer thigh. If you happen to be chilling out on your outer thigh, you bend both knees, flexing the ankles or not. The hand that's behind you could help you kind of prop up on your shins. Hold your head or reach over your head. Just further decompress. Feel the deep psoas core, if you do, in the back leg. So nice. And release down. Eventually, if you can go back into the pose by walking the back foot back, flexing the back toes. I did mention on the first side that if we want to go very specific, again, it's a short form, which means this. If I did walk my back toes back, I'm in a really long lunging pose. It won't be easy for me to kick back, and it will hurt my knee a little bit personally. So if you can see my back toe kind of, I will stand up, and again, like in the lunge, the back foot, I will roll over my toe, not step or slide, but roll specifically over the toe and kneel down. So that when my front foot releases back and I drop to my forearm and my shin, my shoulder will be over my elbow and my hip will be over my knee. I'm facing the forearm and the shin, pressure points into the ground, and that's it. I'm just chilling. Now, you can't see my other arm yet. Now, if you want to stay on the forearm and stand down, go for it. Or you can push up and straighten both arms. Either way, I'm going to drop back into a squat and go deep release from that deeply folded hip. That looks like this. So whatever I'm doing on my straight arm, the forearm, or whatever, I'm going to step back and then turn into a squat best I can. I can't do very well right now on this side, but I'll let you go as deep as you can. We'll all do our best to get the good stretch. Very strong shoulder. Woo! Very strong back seat. Stretching your core, strengthening your back. And you're standing down to downward dog. And own it. Go into your deep downward dog and own that. I think I skipped the arm balance, probably because I can't do it on that side. But yeah, I did skip this arm balance on the left side. So I'm going to go back into that, which actually kind of feels good right now. So if you're in downward dog, you can do that really strong stretch. I'm going to kneel down and step back again with the left foot, just to back step with my apologies, which I cannot do, but I'll let you do if it feels right. It does feel pretty amazing as a healthy mistake, if you like. Going back into the twist after releasing all of that and trying to get the hands down and trying to sit the elbow onto the hip. Remember that I skipped that on the left side subconsciously because I can't do that on this side probably. But I'm going to try, and you can try if you like. So you sit the hip onto the elbow, and you try to get that hip flexor or the muscle you can find on the side of the pelvis. And you can lean into that. A variation of that, which I'm going to demonstrate because it's what my body wants to do right now. You go into a regular squat. It's to go into a twist squat, like a Parabita Malasana. I'm standing up. My heels need to come up. That's okay. My hands are down. Heels are up or not. And then I try to sit like a Parsvabhakasana, like a side prone. I just try to sit the hip flex. So I get the same pressure point. I don't have to do the scissor kick. I just sit into it. I don't even have to lift my feet off the ground. Just lean in. If you do, whatever you do, you're getting deep outer thigh massage from your upper arm. With my apology, and I'm going to kind of fix that flow as best I can by using intelligent counter posing, which will be to go into a squat. And I'm going to go on the backs of my hands with my fingers forward, fingers turned inward is kind of a dance. So fingers forward is a very soft wrist release on the backs of the hands. If the heels don't reach the floor, don't worry. They do that fun. More advanced option is to turn the ring finger towards each other and facing to the middle and standing down like a dog. We don't care about that. Whew. Hopefully I didn't forget anything else because I'd like to move on to some other more self-shiatsu focused work. But regardless, after we are on the back of the hand, it's very important to take finger steps right now, time sensitive, because we want to grip and hug, which will move the micro muscles into joint alignment, specifically the fingers and the wrist. So grip, spreading the fingers, gripping the earth, thumbs pointing towards the center. Here's the close-up. Mudra, so fingers spread out, thumbs towards the center, hugging in, shoulders down, flexing spine, pressing back. Here's what the full body looks like from the profile. Gripping the mat, fingers spread, hugging in, elbows bent, shoulder blades drop, squeezing the inner thighs, rolling to the inner knees, and drop to the tail, flexing the spine, like a tiger body, and a tiger mudra. So I'm in a finger stance, gripping the earth, flexing the spine. This also regenerates the nerves and releases the wrists. Then it allows the palms to come down, which would be 180 from backhand press. So the finger stance is very important between backhand press and regular palm press, because it's a 180 flip on the nerves, right? Good. And then I'm just gonna squat back, palms down, and I want to get into the X form calf massage. X form because the legs are on a 45-degree angle to access the center of the calf. I'm pretty sure we're up to speed now. So I hope I'm correct on that. So what I'm going to do now, as part of my backside, is understand that like the swan that puts your, let me show you in the front. You recall that when you're really in this deep pose, like a swan or a pigeon, that's a 45-degree angle shin. It's like a half of an X, right? Right. So then if I were to come into from that pose, I would have just step my toe behind my knee. Let me show you the back, what my toe's doing. So I'm in that X form already, not 90, but 45. And then not 0 or 90, but 45, like an X. And then I get my toe right behind my knee. And then I slowly walk my hands back and let my foot slide wherever it needs to find the center of the calf. And I ease in real slow like, because it's strong. Try to stay on the central calf. Breathe in, ease in, and back off until it feels okay to go as deep as you can. So we're on the central soleus, deeper core calf muscle line, which has a trigger point to release the lower back very well, lower spine. Which is to say, the outer gastrocnemius, or the outer twin muscle, the dual muscle, the outer calf that you see from the outside, we're going deep of that, close to the bone, right along the soleus. And then we lift up the hip, we wiggle the foot down as we incrementally move down that central calf. The slower you go, the more you release. Make sure you don't go too deep, so you will allow yourself the muscles to release. Encouraging yourself to hold the pressure point a little longer, so it's not too deep. Just ease off, ease in. On the same point, like 3 times, maybe. Before you move to the next incremental micro movement, try to work your way in as deep as you can to ensure the proper energetic flow and deep release, the tension before musculature, the lower leg that connects to the lower back. Good job. So as you wiggle your foot back, you're working down towards the Achilles tendon above the heel. Tendon is muscle becoming joint tissue, right? So the muscle turning into tendon slowly, getting thicker. Micro information, if you haven't noticed, when you wiggle your foot back and move down, we would naturally move from toe to the big toe or base of big toe behind the knee. Finally, about now, by the time you're getting close to the Achilles tendon, it should be your instep, like the front of your ankle almost, that's pressing, which is appropriate because the thicker tissue requires a larger tool. So the instep is much stronger bone than the big toe, right? Yeah. So by the time you're touching the heel a little bit and your instep in the front of your foot is on the lowest part of the calf, then the upper heel of the massaging foot, the massage tool foot, that upper heel should go right between your sit bones to get the pressure point and move a banda to the pelvic floor, which also has tension. But more importantly, as you safely, I'm in a finger stance now, as you safely cradle side to side, your instep cross-fibering, releasing the tension in the Achilles tendon above the heel, the upper heel is pressing hopefully directly into the pelvic floor, which not only is massaging, but also reminding us to breathe in and breathe out and activate a little muscle, lifting away from the heel. Good job. Now, once you're in that center point, as in the beginning when we cross the feet in Seiasana, you can also bring your hands back and lift with effective massaging leg, and stretch that ankle a little deeper now with full support on the Achilles tendon above the heel, the deep ankle. Nice. I hope you feel that. Man, I feel that. That's about as deep as you want to go. And that will help get your heels down and in general lengthen your legs and give you longer leg, which means longer spine. Hi, young lady. Now the counter pose is right away. Go back into the swan on the other side. Now here's this for teachers or for self-practitioners or both. Here's the choreography. Here's the sequence. I have just to counter pose and stretch that calf that I just massaged. I also transitioned to the other side. You didn't catch that. Good job. Then I'll step into the other side. You get me? Okay, well, okay. In any case, you can just stand down like a downward dog and stretch out that calf and notice what you might be feeling on that same side of the sacrum. More than the hamstring, you start to feel up your lower back, or at least your sacrum, responding to the release of the calf. And that's the lower leg, the lower back leg, releasing the lower back. That's a trigger point, a direct relationship. Look in the back chain. So good. I don't teach that one all the time, certainly not with that much information. So I hope that was valuable. Now let's move, when you're ready, let's move to the other side. So I'm going to take, so the back kicking leg and that long lunging leg feels so good for me. It feels so much more open. That feels good in my sacrum on that side. But now it's time for me to take the swan, or what you call the pigeon, and just pelvis side to side, prepping the second side. Yeah, it's nice. For the hip, and then I'm going to step up and make the cross. Make the cross sign, the pirate cross. I'm going to make the X for the rebel, right? And yeah, I'm going to try to get the big toe or the metatarsal one, the base of the large toe, behind the knee, and let my affected leg cross into a diagonal so I can find the central calf. And I remind you, don't panic. Just breathe and stay on the same point. I don't need to remind you that you need to make sure you stay on the central calf. You don't want to roll off, which could micro strain the muscle and could also twist the knee. Stay on that, ride that line. It feels like you're on a rope, right? You're like on a tightrope. Or a slack line. You're just walking the line. Or you're walking on a thick rope on the ground just to massage your feet. But in this case, it's the shin. And then I am now down on my Achilles tendon. And I have to adjust my position until I feel like I can center on to that point with the upper heel moving between the sit bones. I could stay here for a while and get more release. Let's at least hold for another few breaths, if possible. Then I'm going to bring my hands back and lift the legs, stretch the ankle, and increase the massage into the tendon above the heel. Woo, as an extreme option. I'm going to stand down Before I take like a dog pose, I'm just going to have like a kneeling pigeon, right? We're going to kneeling swans, pressing the heel back first. Feel the recirculation all the way down through the furthest tendon from the heart, the ankle, and then stand down. Go on over there, buddy. Yeah, go on over there. Good job. And hold for another breath. If you can feel more release, allow yourself to feel what's going on from the calf, traveling up to the back outer leg, into the deep seat, to the sacrum, into the lumbar lower back. Feel the connection from the calf to the lower back, or at least the sacrum. The breath is the vehicle for feeling, for flow, for release. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to take Kizang one more time, which is flexing the toes in a kneeling position. My toes are flexed, stretching my toes one more time, if as much as you can. And then my feet are going to come wide. I'm just going to take a squat. But remember, if you just push back into a squat, that would be okay, but there's a lot missing there. It's very important to understand that before you extend your shoulder joint, you should set them up, the pectoral girdle. So, which is the 1, 2, 3, dude. I don't know why you have to be like that. I need you to move. Which is when you're kneeling down, your shoulders are not extended. That's the right time to set up. You're neutral. So the big hug in. If you lift your fingers, your palms resting on your wrist, and you spread your fingers, and you hug in, your index will turn somewhat forward. Your shoulders will rotate out, and your blades will drop down into your ribs. Boom. And then push back. And go super, super long shoulder, super deep hip, and super wide wrapped shoulder blade. Good job. Back to prayer squat, Yuosol. Or holding the ground as the hips are feeling that. And then I'm going to, everybody's going to put the hands down and lift the heels up. Lift the hips up back into crow. And lean in. And then stand down to downward dog. We're going to prepare for Yoga Mudra. Such a basic move and so vital, so key, and so important for self Shiatsu, which is the primary tension point. Is well, for most people, in my experience, is the psoas, for sure. And that's where most of the back tension comes from. The lower back is tight from the tension in the lower front. So let's lift the heels up, bend the knees, roll forward to a plank, and then squat back. We work through the body, rolling forward, squatting back, inhaling, exhaling, rolling forward, inhaling, squatting back, exhaling, rolling forward, rolling over the toes, sliding forward, either kneeling down if that's strong for you, turning your thumbs more forward to find inner palm, hugging, dropping the shoulder, flexing up like we do, and then maybe lifting the knees off the ground. And I'm on the fronts of my toes, so I can work my upper press core. Feel a little more strength, stretching the back, strengthening the front, and finding the structural alignment from my inner palm, my outer shoulder, strong ribs. Wonderful. Okay. Now for a moment here, I'm going to kneel down and drop to my forearm. I'm going to cross my arm, and very carefully here. The only place where you can press strong on the forearm is closer to the elbow, where the tendon is strong and the muscle is thick. Thick muscle means protecting nerve. You wouldn't want to be pressing hard, obviously close to your wrist, because the nerves probably wouldn't like that very much. You can create micro damage. So I'm going to take my forearm right below my elbow, my upper forearm, and press into my inner elbow and roll cross fiber, rolling forward and back, which is crossing the, across the side of the arm. Or I can go right into the inner elbow, like right on the tendon with my elbow. So with my upper forearm bone, which is my lower elbow, I can go right into the elbow, right into the inner elbow, the thickest part of the tendon, and just circulate that or forward and back that. Then as you move down towards the wrist, you have to just do a little and then ease off. And one way to make it softer is to change the tool. So instead of like a karate chop with the thumbs up at the elbow, I'll go palm down, which will flatten my tool and make it softer. Palm down. Okay, that's one little thing. All right, and then I'm going to try the other side. And find my elbow right into my inner tendon, right in my inner elbow, the thickest tendon. And find what it feels really juicy. And I'm going to cross fiber that by rolling my arm forward and back, which will work side to side over the inner elbow. Very important here. As we work towards Yoga Mudra. And then the palm goes down as I soften my tool using the muscle of the palm side, pushing down, cross fibering the forearm, and becoming very light, close to the wrist, and a little bit stronger elbow on the base of the thumb. But that's hard to show on screen. So if you know what the thenar eminence is, or our thick base of thumb muscle, I'm just cross fibering that by moving my elbow bone side to side from the thumb to the wrist on the base of the thumb. That's hard for me to explain that. So if it feels right, you can find thick muscle at the base of the thumb, inner palm, and work your elbow side to side over that, towards the thumbnail, back towards the wrist. That is very important. Okay, now I'm going to need to, before we go into Yoga Mudra, I'm going to need to get close to show you exactly what I'm doing with my fingers. Let me lift this up a little bit. So yeah, okay. So here, make sure you can see me. So here, pardon me, here's my forearm. And what I want to do is I want to get between the ulna and the radius, the two forearm bones. Now, when we pronate palm down, the forearms cross like an X. So we need to supinate the palm up, the forearm bones stay neutral and parallel, because we want to get between them. So we don't want to cross them. Stay up. And then I'm just catching my forearm. I'll start up by the elbow. And if your nails are long, you won't be able to apply shiatsu with your fingers. So if you have long nails, good luck with that. But I'm sorry about that. But I forgot to say keep your nails short. But if you have short enough nails, you're going to get right between your forearm bones. And you're going to just kind of go like this. You're going to click on that tendon. Can you feel that a little bit? Good. And that's something. And I wouldn't do too much cross fiber because I'm not sure if that bothers your nerves. I would just say try to find the thickest part and squeeze it. The other side is just, I'm not squeezing that very hard with my thumb. That's just the base. Most of the squeezing is going on with my fingers. Thumb is just basing to get the squeeze on the fingers. Yep. I'm pressing. And then work your way down. If you have that little egg, you'll know where to start. And find that thick muscle. Then relax your muscles, definitely, because you're going for the massage. There's no flexion. There's no squeeze. It's soft. Good. And squeeze. You're working down. And if I work closer to from where I am, working down, closer towards the next bone down, that's like, but you'll, just play with it and find the thick, juicy part. Most of the pressure point is going to be close to your elbow. As you move down your forearm, I mean, it feels good, but it's not the same as the Subo, as the pressure point up here. But okay, don't care. Okay, now I'm going to put my hand. I just need to do this real quick. Sorry, I'm going to do a quick counter pose. I'm going to bring my elbow up, and instead of crossing my arm, I'm going to hug in so I can drop my shoulder blade down. So I can spread my fingers and pull my arm back, not sideways, but back. Keep pulling until you hear a click, and I'm just kidding. That's just me. And then slowly release down with your fingers spread. Put the back of your hand on the side of your pelvis, your hip. Not too far back, it's not an arm lock, just by the hip. And then you're going to reach across, if you can, and pull that forward. And then move your head away to stretch your neck. Internalize that shoulder and stretch inside that blade. Good job. And release that. And then drop this. I know time's flying, so I want to get these other pressure. Drop the shoulder blade down and extend your arm. Again, it's always the same. Hug. Here's your takeaway. One of them, which is, some of us know this all too well, but definitely hug in. 1, 2, definitely drop the shoulder blade down. And 3, definitely extend the shoulder joint as you flex the spine. Feel that blade wrap around, feel that power. Another way to explain that is, this is super basic, but it's important, real quick, is that the shoulder blade goes forward. That's more like a block, but it's not good for striking. It's not good for handstands or planks or dogs. So the shoulder blade goes back. That's when you extend. That's when you strike, or that's when you press. So make sure at the very least, the shoulder blade can go forward and back. That's fine. Shoulder blades forward and back. If you're more interested in martial arts and mechanics, we could say that for another class. But when the shoulder blade goes back, that's the time to strike. Or when the shoulder blade goes back, that's the time to press. That's when the power turns on. That's the structure. But okay. So, but back to this. Roll the wrist out as best you can. And now we're going to put those two things together. So now when you catch I'm not turning my palm up, and I'm being very neutral. I'm just letting it be. I'm going to grip. You'll know if it X's because it will force your finger away. You don't turn it in, just let it go. And you grip in. Now when you roll your wrist, you'll feel the muscle undulating under your finger press. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that pressure point as high as you can go on the forearm. As high as you can go on the forearm, you'll feel that pressure point. Then you roll it out. And you work down. I know in mechanics, eventually you work back towards the heart to recirculate. But in this instance, we're moving the energy out. We're releasing tension out. So I'm actually moving it out. But that's more of an energetic massage, but for release. But okay. Roll and release. Grip, roll and release. I hope that works for you, because I just get so much out of that. Ooh. And what you'll feel when you stop doing it is energetic flow. You get your grips is strong, your mechanics feel long, and the energy is flowing through your fingertips and your hands, and that's what you're looking for, feeling light and free. Good job. Let's try the other side. Grip that forearm. Cross fiber a little bit if I need to try to find the pressure point. Go as high in the forearm as I can. If I go any higher, I'm going to leave the forearm, go to my upper arm. So it's very right there, as high as you can go. If you can squeeze your arm and you get a little egg, that's what you're looking for, the egg. But oof, good. And you might be surprised at how much tension is there. Very important to release all that outer shield work. The body's the outer mobilizer shield needs to be released. And then when we do our yoga, we're hugging in, we're squeezing this, strengthening the inner yin line, the inner muscle line, but then the outer tendons of the outer bone yang body, the bone joint body, all that shield work needs to be released. That's what I'm trying to share with you right now. So we're gripping, finding it. If cross fiber is too strong, just find the thickest part of the rope. And then as the muscle gets thinner, you be very gentle as you get closer to the wrist. I adjust my wrist. I don't know how to explain that, the joint. And then we go back. And if you want to do a little quick stretch, that's kind of what happens is once you release a micro muscle, the next larger muscle or the next larger joint tissue you'll start to feel the tension surface because the energy's moving, the blood's flowing. So you'd be like, oh, okay, oh yeah, I feel my shoulder more now, maybe. So that's why I did that. So we hug in, we drop the shoulder blade a little bit down, spread the fingers a lot, and try to pull straight back. And you can lean into it. Awesome. Push your head back if you want. But then the back of the hand goes by the hip. And then we pull forward. It's just the neck as you release the shoulder blade and the internal shoulder joint. I did not show on the first side, but if you're not too far up your pelvis, be more on the side of the pelvis, you could probably go into like a squat, or you could do this in a lunge where the forearm catches on the inner thigh. Then you could really use your thigh muscle to lean into that. It's more of a resistance release stretch than a pressure point, but it's all related. Then when you go back to neutral, just remember, yeah, it feels good. You just remember that the shoulder blade forward is more like if you're working one shoulder blade forward, one back, which is say for another class, use the warrior work. But the shoulder blade forward is more like a cover. The shoulder blade back is more like a chamber or setup for the strike or setup for the press. And then we return. And we squeeze as high as we can between the forearm bones, and we start to roll the wrist. The rolling the wrist means you close the fist when you open the wrist, and you open the fingers when you close the wrist. So that's this kind of fluidity. But that's also more of a different type of workshop. So we'll grip and roll. If you need to move your physically down, find a little bit thicker tendon, a little bit lower down above that bone, and roll that. That's what you're looking for, the most feeling part. Yeah, so and work down and work down. You're just digging in. If your fingernails are short, you should be able to go pretty deep. And that's amazing. And then just feel, like start to feel light once it regenerates, which might need to be below the heart, or might need to rest. And Buddha Mudra, like lacing thumbs together in the lap, or whatever, if you need to move. Or don't move. You feel that energetic flow. Okay, good. Let's move on to Yoga Mudra. We still have time. So here, I remind us the basics, which in today's very simple practice is when you hammer your hips, which is to mean to push the hip flexor or hit the thigh bone right at the hip, the top of the thigh. Remember, the thigh bone meeting the pelvis is the hip joint. So you're really hammering your outer fist or outer small finger side wrist right onto your hip or your thigh bone. Once you do that, you can push the thigh down, lift the chest up, and the palms go in towards the abdomen. And if you didn't notice, they make like the forearms show you what the fists are doing. If the fists are straight, they're doing what the forearms are doing, the angle. So the forearms are making an X. That's an X. It's a V, and if the V keeps going, it's an X. It's just mirroring your core, X core structure, our structure. So when you hammer the hip, the palm goes in, you push down on the thigh, lift the chest. There's actually this shape, with your fists. And that little triangulation, the fists don't come together. The palms are flat, and it makes like this triangulation. And that's for your stomach organ. The knuckle side of the fingers, that's for the psoas, or the iliacus, the base of the core. So that's just as it is. Don't change anything. Just touch the hip, lift the chest, the palms and fists and wrists and forearms under the ribs. So when you go into Yoga Mudra, you can feel your thumbs and wrists under the ribs going into your core, hopefully. If you cannot feel that and if your ribs are pushing onto your thumbs, you have to back off, push your thighs with your palms, and lift your shoulders and heart bone as you push down on the thighs to try to get your ribs up so you get more space, so you can, at least you can get your thumbs under your ribs into your abs. The other ways to do that would be to stand up to use gravity. So if you're having a hard time doing it kneeling, you just stand and squat, hammer your hips, palms into the core. Inhale, pull up or pull way up and back. Get length in your spine, get lifting your ribs. So when you hammer your hips, your fist and wrist definitely go under your ribs. So if it's easier to stand or kneel as you like. Woo. And pushing back through the pelvis, lifting your shoulders away from your neck, which is more obvious to feel when you're standing up. I'm going to kneel back down and take Sesasana, which means I'm crossing my feet again, and I'm going to hammer my. You can also kneel up. This is like basic Bandha flow. Activate your thigh. Will base your pelvis and your pelvic core, and it will lengthen your spine, which will lift your ribs. Strong legs, and then you hammer your hips as you squat in, and you get really good. Forearms, everything under the ribs, you go in. Now, breathing in this pose allows you to expand and contract. Stay in the pose, don't come up. Breathe in and out. Breathe deeply through your nose if you can, or exhale through the mouth. And feel the core muscle. Maintain the massage from your fists as you breathe. In classical yoga, we exhale out and hold and then come up. But in this practice, I've learned that you can just breathe in and out and just allow the breath to release the tension in the deep core psoas muscle. Now, you're breathing, you're not looking up, you're not, unless you need to get up, you're just sinking in, forehead towards the floor. And if you start to, I suggest you don't move your fingers or fists because that can strain your organs. So I would recommend that you start to move your pelvis and torso side to side and allow your fist to cross fiber massage the trigger points in the belly of the muscle, the central part of the psoas, which is about where your fists are right now. You're shifting side to side, so you feel the core muscle cross fiber massage, the fascia and all the connective web and tissue, releasing the lower back. And then that's a lot. So then you come up and detox, and you're going to feel that. So you can just pause and lower your head towards your heart and breathe slowly. The counterpose to that is Ekapada Supta Virasana or Supta Virasana, which is reclined hero, which I'm going to, if your knees will allow you to do that, it's okay to sit on a blanket. But if your knees will allow you to do it, you can also straighten one leg and do one leg. I'm just going to suggest that we lean back a little bit today on the hands. Just get that long thigh and long core. If that's as deep as you need to go and you're feeling that, you need to basically stay in the pose long enough that you can feel the stretch beyond the stretch, which is to say, wherever you get in the pose, you need to stay in it long enough to breathe beyond the feeling in the front thigh. If you can today, that's possible. Give yourself the space to observe, witness that. Eventually, the feeling in the long thigh will give way to the feeling in the long core. And as we breathe, we be careful not to strain the knees, the tissue in the knees. Good job. And do that until you get satisfied. And the counter pose to that is squat to dog. Or even before that, knees wide. Slowly bring your hands forward and your seat back. And maybe lean forward and fold forward or not. If that feels like something you need. What I need is to flex my toes and squat back and prepare for downward dog. So wherever you are with it, eventually you'll take a squat and a dog as we prepare for our final self shiatsu point today, which is the crown of the head along the medial line. On either side of the medial line, there's 3 points that make up the 6 points. Why, like the Shaolin monks tattoo these points on their head. It's so important to them. It's the high crown point of awakening the higher mind, apparently. But certainly wonderful pressure points, which relates to how we shift from the center of our crown to the forward part of the crown, to the back part of the crown. For example, like when we're squatting or half head standing, we definitely shift the weight on the head, even in classical Ashtanga and Iyengar, etc. Those are pressure points. So before we do that, let's go into downward dog. Walk our dog, hold the dog and breathe, or walk your dog and work your heels down, your hips side to side. If you're looking for a super nice release pose, you would take downward scorpion. And shift to the opposite heel and take the opposite leg up for downward scorpion. Stretching the psoas. Isolating one side of the psoas and release the sacrum in the hip. In a different practice that we don't have a lot of time for, but I'll just briefly demonstrate it in case you want to kneel down and watch, which is the Charlie Chaplin duck feet, which is the back foot of Warrior One. You can find in downward dog, and also the base foot for what some people call tiger tail. So if I'm in downward dog, pardon my backside, but if you can see my feet, my heels go down, my heels drop in, and they hit like a double diagonal, which makes half of a frame, 90 degrees. And then that one heel can stay down. You can even squat into it and find your back inner heel, just like a Warrior One base. But okay, so if I take the Scorpio and I've got that back inner heel grounded already, then it's easier to balance at base and activate strong inner leg to get my long outer leg. Then the opposite hand can catch the foot and I can press the thumbs forward, inner palm, and the back inner heel, inner palm to opposite inner heel. That's the full length of your X. Is the basis of full body core structure. Inner line, this muscle line is yin body is strong, and outer bone joint line, yang body is long, and this is an awesome counter pose, which can be done from kneeling with relaxed toes. Absolutely. It's kind of it is the time and place for this pose. It's not really the type of practice that we're doing, but I'm doing it right now because it's the awesome counter pose and feel the full effect of the practice type of pose. Okay, so I'm going to do the other side. You can join in and do both sides at your leisure, which is kneeling, or if you're standing, you drop your inner heels together. One heel remains and squats a couple of times. You can find your inner heel. The thumbs are forward, so you find the major inner palm in butterfly mudra. For me, butterfly mudra. Massive inner palms, thumbs forward. Very long side body, very open shoulder, but okay, inner palm. Inner heel to opposite inner palm. Very smart. And then catch and kick and press. Pushing feet, kicking, pressing, lifting, planking forward, whoosh, or pressing back and feel it all. kick high, and then let go and take your press. In X. Always, I like to remind everybody, do both sides, take your time. Doing great. As we come to our close, before we go to the crown points, the higher points, from feet to crown, from root to crown today, I remind you that if you do want to take your press, definitely, I'm sure you don't do this, but maybe, don't go from up dog into a push-up, because you have no power and you have compressed lower back. Very important to practice and teach hugging in, spreading out fingers, hugging elbows in, dropping shoulder blade, squeezing your inner thighs so the weight comes onto your inner knee bones, and then dropping the tail, flexing up, tiger body, what I call Vyagrasana, tiger body, tiger pose, and flexing forward, lots of strength, lots of pelvic floor, abdominal core, big upper core ribs. An important topic that needs to be addressed in yoga is upper body power. And that flex will translate into extension with power. So from the deep flex, that's exhale, and keep all that strength, basic power as you inhale forward, extend, but you still like in a flex type of strength. And then from kneeling, you can eventually learn to stand and press and find real power. But okay, we're going to finish today with, I didn't do all the wrist mudra massages that I wanted to do, that I didn't get to, but I apologize for that. But for now, I'll show you the profile first as we finish with the crown points. We go right to the fruit, to the fruition. So I'm going to put my hands down, going to bend my elbows, put my forehead down. I'm going to roll from the third eye, from the sixth chakra, the sixth sense, right? The Om, sound of Om, right? Right? And then we move to the silent Om, to the crown point, 90 degrees to the top. And if you need to kneel down, that's fine. And just kind of roll forward and back and stretch your neck. We're also recognize that when you're balancing on the center point, at the center of your head, that's the pressure point. If I can't recommend you to move side to side if your neck's not strong enough for that. But just understand if you're kneeling, you move from micro to the side. That's the pressure point. It's not on the actual bridge, it's on the edge of the bridge. So it's really it's all there. Like if you circulated your head very slowly, you'd be hitting all 6 points, 3 on each side. But hey, if you're on the center of your head, you can support yourself kneeling. You can micro move to one side, get an awesome adjustment or stretch in your upper neck or upper cervical spine, neck bones. And then you gently shift to the other side, very cautiously, very carefully, very sensitively. And you can kind of, if you're very clever, you shift just off center to one side and micro move forward and back. You're on the pressure point. You should feel them, and it's awesome. Oh, talk about releasing headaches and neck, jaw tension and head pressure. Oh my goodness. Oh, finish with the fruit. Take fruition. Oof. And then shift to the opposite. Just off center and forward and back. Feels so good. Yeah, there's that. And if you're very careful, and your knees are pretty close under your hips, and your hands are pretty proximal under your elbows, you can tripod a little bit stronger, directly forward, not off center, just forward. So you get a really good activation of pelvic floor and throat. A very good stretch on your battery pack, your brainstem, your medulla oblongata, the base of the brain that expresses itself throughout the intelligence of the body from the spinal cord. And back off towards the hairline of the forehead. Just pulse there for a moment, the opposite direction. The central axis. And then if you're very, very careful, if you're still with me, I'm going to suggest that you would move diagonally forwards until you feel your natural limit and just chill there, micro pulse there maybe.
as you work down your neck into your upper back, muscle release from those crown points, that forward off center point. Which is not the hairline or the forehead at all, but back between the hairline and the top center of the head. There's that point. You can play with that diagonal forward, micro forward and back cradle till you can pinpoint that feeling. And then you do what you do, but that's on you. Be very careful. Your neck, good job. Now, if you're cool, you can just center back to your forehead or, the center, and then diagonally forward to the opposite side, adjusting your hands and knees wherever you need to try to find the safety zone, but the deep zone as you breathe. And you might be pleasantly surprised that you can find so much pressure point going on there. And when you do find a specific area or the one side of the 3 on each side points, the 6 points of crown, the point that has the most pain or feels like it's holding or needs to release a strong feeling, and dwell there. And then counter to the other side to rest from that. But that said, it's safer and perhaps more effective and comfortable to neutral back to the forehead, or at least back to the center, and pause before rolling forward and back on the central medial line to neutralize and regenerate, regroup your energy, and then diagonally forward. So I usually suggest that you and ask that once you feel it very well, you share it. If you share it, then you give people the chance to neutralize on the medial central line before going to the diagonal line, which is to say between each diagonal line side, you kind of neutral forward and back. If it's really strong or don't do headstand, and it is very new for a practitioner, you would have them back all the way off to the forehead, including myself or yourself if you feel you need it. It doesn't matter what level you're at, which is knees wide, Seizasan across feet, not ankles, perhaps, and then sliding back on your forehead with your arms forward, your palms up, your knees wide for very specific reasons. When you're on your forehead, you have a very relaxed, no pressure point on the crown, neutral neck, open breathing passage, which is lovely. When your arms are forward and your palms are up and your elbows, forearms are down, the shoulders are externally rotated, the blades are dropped, and the upper back and neck are supported. When the knees are wide, the hips are released, the abdomen can relax, the sacrum and tailbone will drop, releasing the lower back. And this is what I would suggest as a wonderful, proper, real resting pose. And the breath is free. Like life, our breath should be free. And yes, at one point, you might feel to rise onto your forearms, onto your hands, lifting your head, walking forward towards Shavasana, crossing the ankles, rolling over your calves onto your seat, and reclining to a resting pose. And just as we learn to sit, which allows us to practice meditation, we also learn to rest, which allows us to practice enlightenment. Because when we relax, we expand. Expansion of the soul, expanding and contracting with the breath, day by day, moment by moment, and life by life, lifetime. There's always time to practice. There's always time to rest. As you breathe deeply, releasing everything. Please remain as you are for all time. The reason why we are exactly as we were born, because we are ourselves at all times, each lifetime, same spirit. That is the true you, to embrace and celebrate and enjoy. What we learn from the practice is that giving is living. Namaste. Deep breath.
Whenever you do rise from your rest, remember to sit and feel the effect, the power of the practice. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Namaste.